Marketing starts before the music drops. The music is only a small part. The recording the music is only a small part. So like the studio session, that's just the beginning. And the marketing for the release, that starts even before the recording session. It starts with you as an artist building your brand and your artist identity. So throughout that whole process, you need to be creating content that helps to communicate who you are and what people can expect from you. So it's not just about posting your song. You have to figure out what type of content can you create outside of your music that will allow people to get an insight onto who you are and what you do. Even if all you do is make music, then you need to make content about yourself making music, whether you're writing a song, looking for beats, freestyling, practicing a song. Record yourself doing those things and post it as content. And that is your your that is content marketing because you're creating content that markets your brand and it shows people what you do and what you're about. So that's where the creativity comes in. So don't look at it as making content as like a tedious thing you have to do, like you have to do for your music. I mean, it should just be an expression. It should be an extension of your music. It should be natural because that's why I keep going back to artist identity because that's why that's the foundation of everything that we're talking about. Because if you have an artist identity that's tied into your true identity, then you know what you're trying to do and where you're trying to go with it. So everything that you're doing will be based on that. So that's why it's important to establish that first. So once you have an artist identity and you know the things that you're about, then you can start to show those things, show the things you do on a daily basis, show what you care about, get on camera and talk about what you care about, or post photos of things you care about. All of those things help to market your overall brand, which will ultimately lead to your music. So don't get caught up in thinking that every post has to be about your music. It does not. It's actually better if you have more posts that are not about music and posts that are about music. You do need posts about your music, but you want to have just as many posts, if not more, of just content that's about you. Writing press releases. So how do you make people care about what you got going on? You got to have your story out there. Your story is so important and different things you're doing. So look at your release as if it's an event. Like your release is a huge newsworthy event, something that should be in the news. And why is it newsworthy? And that's what you got to try to figure out. What about your release makes it important? What about your release is special? And if you can come up with that narrative, that's how you write a press release. And you make it known that this is happening and this is why it's important. And you get that press release out to as many media outlets as you can. And that's blogs, newspapers, different websites, talk shows, any place where people are looking for guests, like podcasts and stuff like that. Submit your press release to all those places and they can either just feature your story or they can bring you on to talk to you about your release and what you're doing and whatever story that you have in your press release, whatever narrative you're pushing in the press release, that's what people will want to bring you on their platform to talk about. And just build anticipation all the way up until the music comes out. And you have to be anticipating it the most, and people will be able to feel your excitement. So once they are connected with you as a person, now it's like you have music coming out, and it's just like more like if a friend was doing something new or coming out with something new, you would be interested, you would be invested in it. So if you've done your part to really develop the relationships with people or like establish yourself and communicate who you are well enough that people can resonate with it, then at this point, now it's just time to show that you're anticipating your new release and then show that excitement. And then, like, other people will see that too. And they'll be able to feed off your excitement, feed off your energy. But you have to set the tone. So remember these key points. Content builds attention, it attracts attention, and it markets you as an artist. That way, it makes your music easier for people to gravitate to and accept. And press builds credibility. So press is basically, at this point, press is anybody talking about you and your music besides you. So it could be even just someone sharing your music or sharing your post. That's press. But then also press is actual media outlets, getting on blogs or getting on podcasts. Those are excellent ways to build credibility, because when people see that other people are talking to you or enjoying your music, then that's when they feel like, okay, this is a credible person that I can pay attention to. And consistency. Make sure you stay consistent, because that's what's going to build your momentum. You have to stay consistent from the time that you decide to be an artist. You have to be consistent with your content. So constantly making content. And the way to be consistent with that is figuring out how to make content that's not always about your music. How can you record yourself doing something on a daily basis that kind of speaks to who you are as a person, and like the what you want to reveal to the world and the side of you that you want them to see. You have to be in that realm of doing those things every day, and people need to be able to see that. And that's why your lifestyle should kind of be based off of, well, your music should be based off your lifestyle, and your artist identity should be based off your lifestyle, because now you can just show your lifestyle, and that inadvertently promotes your artist identity in your music. All right, now for some industry insight, we're going to look at how do artists use press to build momentum.
When I was a music journalist, I received hundreds of press releases. Now, 10 years on, I own a music marketing agency, and we send those press releases. So with all of this experience, I know exactly how a press release should be written and pitched. Most artists, when I speak to them, think that they need to be a charting artist. They need to have millions of streams. They need to have hundreds of thousands of social media followers to be able to get press coverage, or at least need some contacts to be able to ensure that their press release is seen. But that's not the case. In this video, I'm going to walk you through exactly how to write a press release, exactly how to pitch it to press contacts to get coverage. I'll use real life examples so you know exactly how we did it, so you can take inspiration from these press releases, these pitches, and ensure that you get the coverage that your music deserves. We'll start with the press release first. A press release, if you don't know what it is basically a document which is going to have all the information that a journalist and editor needs to be able to write a feature, review, interview, whatever it is about your release. If you look at this example, this is a band called The Harbors. Independent band, not crazy amount of streams, no real tastemakers behind them before. And this is an example of how a good press release can get you coverage in huge publications. This press release got us coverage in Clash, Earmilk, Music Crowns, F Word, and many, many more. So you don't have to be a huge artist to get this kind of coverage. You just have to pitch it correctly. If you look at the press release that's on my screen right now, the format of it is very simple. You literally got headline, listen link, photo, a download link for press shots, the press release itself, and then your socials. Let's start at the very top, the headline. All this needs to be is who you are and what you're releasing. Obviously, you don't want it to just say artist name, track title. You want to have a bit more to it. What's the genre? Is there something that makes you stand out? So with The Harbors, the headline was literally just, The Harbors release long-awaited debut EP, a feel-good indie pop milestone for Leicester's rising stars. That made it clear who they were, what their genre was, and that they are an actual rising act. You're setting expectation. You don't want to sell too hard, because imagine you're kind of lying to them. It's like clickbait on YouTube. You don't want to clickbait someone into engaging. You want to ensure that what you're telling them is the truth, but it's still selling you. But it can be even simpler than that. Rhett Smith, that we got a new Noise premiere for, the headline was simply, Rhett Smith unleashes raw rock fury with new single, End on Top. It needs to be punchy, it needs to stand out. Next thing, the listen link. You can also have a watch here link if there's a music video. Then you've got the actual shot. This can be the artwork if the artist is in it, or it can be a press shot. A lot of artists don't actually know what press shots are. They're simply an image of yourself. Go with the press shot as well that makes you stand out the most. So for example, in this Rhett Smith one, he's staring directly at the camera. The same with this Leonie Persh press release we did. She is staring directly into the camera. And this press release got us a premiere on Notion. So really think about the press shot, because that's going to have a significant impact on whether you're going to get featured or not. Next, you're going to have the release date. It needs to be very clear when you're releasing, because they don't want to cover something that's really old. Yes, it can be a couple of weeks old, but they don't want to be covering a release that's a year or two old. That's why pitching pre-release is always going to be more beneficial, But with the example with the Harbours, we actually pitched it 2 weeks post-release. So as long as your press release is strong, you can pitch a release that you have that's current enough. Then you jump into the real stuff, the actual press release itself. The press release is selling you. It's selling the release itself, but selling you as an artist. So this needs to include information on the release, information on you as an artist. Sprinkle some credibility in there. And that doesn't need to be a headline tour, but any radio support you've had, any press support you've had in the past. Who produced the track? Is it a well-known producer? Anything that gives you a little bit of credibility. Then you want a quote from yourself. This is mainly because a lot of publications like to be able to quote the artist. So if you put it in the press release for them, it makes their job so much easier. Then finally, end it with what is to come. This might sound really overwhelming, but if you have it as a checklist and write all those things individually and then put it into the press release, maybe even use ChatGPT if you really struggle with writing, then you're good to go. The length of the press release does really range depending on how much you have to say, because the examples I've showed you, Rhett, Leone, The Harbours, they're pretty short. However, indie rock band Black Bordello that we worked with, we got them Wonderland, Notion, Clash, Earmilk, a ton of coverage. And their press release was actually really long because there was quite a bit to say. As long as you're getting to the point and you're not waffling, it's fine. Let's go through a few do's and don'ts before we move on to the pitch. Do, proofread. Proofread your press release over and over and over again. Check the links work. There's nothing worse than getting sent a press release. You go to download the images, nothing there. Finally, make sure there is a link to download press shots and artwork. This can be in the press release or the pitch, but make sure you have it, because I remember when I was a journalist, I would get a pitch from a PR agency or an artist, and I would go to write the feature and there was nothing there. There was nothing for me to put into the feature because the artwork, the images in the press release weren't high res. So then I'd have to go back, then you start an email chain. You want it to be as accessible as possible, so make sure there's that download link. Then there's the don'ts. Don't waffle on. Don't go on and on and on about yourself. Keep it quick, keep it snappy. Make sure that you're focusing on the important things. Don't use stupid fonts, don't use stupid colors. Keep it simple, easy to read. And finally, don't make it a cliche. I've got an exercise for you. Say you've written this press release, swap another artist name for your own. If all of it makes sense, it's not unique enough. It needs to be specifically for you as an artist. If any other artists can be put into that press release, you're not going to stand out enough. Now we've got the press release, you've got to pitch it. Finding the contacts is pretty easy to do. Most of them are accessible through the website, or you can go onto the journalist's Twitter, their Instagram. A lot of them have it in their bios. But once you've got their email, you need to pitch it. You've got the press release, make that a PDF and attach it straight away. Nothing worse than when you forget to do that. Then you're going to ensure that this email is personalized. None of you are going to copy and paste the same thing. Yes, it's going to be the same-ish thing, but it needs to be personalized. At least have their name and one line in there that makes you stand out, because you are competing with thousands of others. So let's, for example, do the Harbours. It would say, "Hi, insert journalist name. I discovered your piece on an artist that they've covered before that sounds similar to yourself, and I thought I'd reach out because my track is pretty similar, so I think you'd like it." This shows them that you have actually read their work, that you are sure that your music will suit them and that they'll like it, and it also shows it's not a generic email. Then you can go into your pitch, which is just a shortened version of the press release. Explain things quick, snappy, streaming link, done. The subject bar can be the headline of the press release, nothing too complicated. Hit send and wait. If you don't hear back from them, follow up in 2 weeks' time. But the chances are, if your press release is good, if the pitch is good, if your music is good, you're going to get supported.
The cold hard truth is, if you want to be a full-time artist, then you're going to have to make money. And social media is a great tool to generate income. So you're going to have to conform. You're going to have to play the game of making content. But like Pablo Picasso said, learn the rules like a pro so you can break them like an artist. And that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to make content like artists. However, most artists do it wrong. They adjust their art to fit the masses, and in the process, they lose themselves and their freedom of expression. So a better approach is to stay true to your art, but adjust how you give it to the world, aka your marketing. Just think about it like this: your art is the product, and your marketing is the packaging. So instead of changing the product, change how it looks on the outside. Create for you, but market it for them. And the best way to do this is to disguise your art in content packaging. Basically make your art look like it's content. But before I show you how to do this, we need to distinguish the difference between the both of them. So the difference between art and content is intent. Content is created because you feel like you have to put something out there, because you're bored or you want attention. Art, on the other hand, is created for your own self-expression, to make people think, feel, and create change. Your why is the first component. In addition, content is created for anyone and everyone, but art is created for a specific group of people, a community, or a movement. Therefore, if you want to make art, you need to know why you're creating and for who. Additionally, you can tell who's a content creator or an artist by the way they interact with others. Content creators' interactions always feel transactional. They want something from you, either attention or money. I mean, it kinda always feels like they're trying to sell you something. But artist interactions are all about connection. Artists want to give you something. Like I said, they either want to make you think or give you a feeling that creates change. Content creators are making noise for these platforms simply to make money and feed their attention addiction. However, artists use these platforms to express themselves and communicate with a specific group of people, and they're able to do this by disguising their art as content. Grab people's attention with what they want, but give them what they need. You can say it's kinda clickbait, but we gotta do what we gotta do. So the one thing most people want from content is entertainment. Most people are not happy or fulfilled with their lives, so they use entertainment to escape reality. Whether they're on a lunch break or on the couch after a long day at work or school, they jump on their phones and scroll through content. They want to take their minds off of reality. But that's not a good solution for an unhappy life. I mean, how great do you feel after scrolling on your phone all day? People just want comfort from that content. But what they need is transformation, either physically, emotionally, mentally, or spiritually. And that's where an artist steps in. Step 1 is to know your message and your vision, because this is how you stay true to your art. It's your foundation. It's the one thing that's going to attract the right people to you. So you should never change it to please everyone, because if you do, you water down your message, and it won't mean anything to anyone. Your message is everything. So if you don't know your message yet, you either need to take some time to develop it, or use your story as your message, because eventually if you keep repeating it, your message will emerge. But if you want to start developing your message, here are some basic questions to get you started. Number 1, what do you believe in? Specifically, what core beliefs and values drive you and your art? Number 2, why do you create? You need to stand for something because people need something to believe in. Number 3, why do people consume your art? Like, what are they looking for and what should they be looking for? And finally, what makes you and your art different? You need to know what separates you from every other artist, and it's usually found in your story. So the next step after you've identified your message is to do some market research. Basically see what content is working. Look for common themes, styles, and formats. These are going to be your packaging, the one thing people see on the surface that's going to grab their attention. This could be a photo dump, a skit, a vlog, a tutorial, a dance, etc. Understand what's working on the specific platform you're creating for. For example, a vlog might work on YouTube, but not on Instagram. And when you're doing your research, focus on the details. For instance, the fonts, the colors, the sounds, the timing, the feeling of the content. Because you're going to use all this information to help you structure your art. I mean, most content creators don't know what they're doing. They're just trying to grab attention, and it's working. So as an artist, if you're able to research and dissect their content, you'll be able to use this information to package your art better. Finally, once you have your message and you've done your research, it's time to combine them. You're going to hide your message within that content packaging. You're going to grab people's attention with what they want, the content, but you're going to give them what they need, your message. Therefore, after consuming your content, they're going to feel a lot better compared to content with no message. And the truth is, your message doesn't have to be that deep. Your message can basically be to make someone's day better with a good laugh. That's why a TikTok skit can be art if that's your intention. On the other hand, it can be as deep as helping people overcome their traumas. People might want to see how you live your day, but within that vlog, you can show people your journaling process to overcoming your traumas. So here are some additional tips to help you get your message across within your content. First, you need to be clear, not clever. If you try to be too artistic within your content, people are not going to understand it and scroll right past it. So one of the best ways to make your content clear is by giving context. Make it easy for people to resonate with what you're communicating. No one can tell what's happening or how you feel in a picture or video, so you have to tell them. As much as you want to believe it, your art doesn't speak for itself. So explain to your people within the caption, the video, or however your creativity tells you to do it.
Okay, for your assignment this week, it's going to be creating promotional content. So we definitely need you to make some videos, some reels, some photos. We need a lot of promo content because we're going to use this content to help promote you and your brand and your music. We're also going to write a press release, and we have all the components to put together a press release. So that should come out really good. And then we're going to update your EPK. So we're going to update it with more content, with more things that we have, because you should have like some updated content, some and materials and information to update your EPK. So you might want to update your bio, put some more photos on there, update your social media information, all of that kind of stuff. And we'll help you with that on the live stream. And we'll be able to look at what you guys got going on. And then come to the Fairgate, and that's when we'll be able to talk to you and get with you in person and really get to the nitty gritty of what we got to get done. And just sign up for the Fairgate if you haven't already, because we got a lot of Fairgates coming up, but we do them a few times out the month. So make sure you sign up for a Fairgate, come see us, and we'll get this going. And we got a lot coming up. So I look forward to seeing you guys there.